Hello, this is Vivica Williams, and you're watching Head to Head. Today, we're talking about youth and including this demographic in policy and decision making. To help young Ukrainians, the Youth Worker Program was established back in 2014. It was spearheaded by the Ministry of Youth and Sports of Ukraine, the State Institute of Youth and Family Policy, and UNDP. Since then, the community of youth workers has significantly grown. To talk more about the achievements of this program, we welcome to the studio today Anna Ostrikova, coordinator of the Youth Worker Program. Anna, thanks for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
So first, tell us, what is the Youth Worker Program and how does it work?
Okay, a few words about the background of this program. 3 years ago, in the youth sphere in Ukraine, in general, it started reforms. And the main idea of these reforms is a transition from paternalistic approach to youth participation. And successful reform is impossible without people who will be think tank and who will be drivers of these positive changes in local community. And that's why Ministry of Youth and Sport, together with support of UNDP and State Institute for Family and Youth Policy, launched educational training program, Youth Worker. Who is youth worker? Who is this magic person?
It's not, youth workers, this is not necessarily, if we think about the term, it's not just youth who participate, but it's also people who work with youth. Correct.
It can be activists, leaders of youth NGO, youth clubs, youth centers. It can be teachers who, after schools, can to do some activities for young people in communities. It can be librarians who can to do something with youth after work. It can be a representative of public authorities responsible of youth in regional administration and local administration. And one main principle of this program is 50-50. 50 participants is from NGO sector and 50% participants from public sector, from administration, public and sectors and public units. Because before this reform started, people working that worked in youth sphere didn't know each other.
Oh. And because there was no systematic measures,
systematic
nothing,
approach.
no kind of system at that time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And the team decided that connect these people through the joint training session. And now program have 3 levels, 3 main levels. It's basic training. It's like enter to the program when these 50-50 participants meet each other and talking about youth policy, what's going on in Ukraine now, what changes, legislation changes, any tendency, etc., etc. Second term is youth work in local community. It's belong to the reform of decentralization because it's a very dynamic process, and youth sphere also should to react to this process. And third term is professional and personal competences of youth worker, of people who work in with youth. What you should to have in your bag when you wanted to go to young people and to do with them something.
Well, so tell us about how the levels work. So do all people who work with youth go through, maybe from the public sphere and a select number from NGO, do they all go through the basic level? And is this something that's repeated yearly, or how does that work?
Everyone who work with youth can apply on the website of the program, apply to this basic training in own region, because basic training is a lot of every week we have 3 or 4 training sessions in different regions. It can be in Kyiv, it can be in a village, it can be in amalgamated community, doesn't matter, because the format of this program that it's a state program. It's very important that it's state. It's not a program with donor only with donor financial supports. It's very important for us. And local authorities and local municipalities order this training session for their audience in their local community.
Oh, wonderful. And so far, how many training sessions have been carried out? Have they been done in every area of Ukraine or unoccupied areas of Ukraine?
And now we have near 1,500 graduates of this program. But we are a very dynamic program, and for example, just for this year we had 20 training session basic level, and this week we have three training sessions in different regions. And every year we plan to plus 800 or 1,000 youth workers join to our big family and to our big community. Because first of all, it's community of people. Because we realize that 3-day training session, it's not enough to understand it what they can to do with young people, but they can meet colleagues, partners,
right.
friends.
The networking is one
yes,
of the biggest things.
Yes,
yeah,
and
the connections.
it's really work. It's really work.
And what's the part with the train the trainer? This is where you have that work, the one-on-one, where people are exchanging information and techniques. Tell us a bit about that.
Training for trainers, it means when you graduate basic level and decide that you have experience, competences, and you want to do such training session in your local community. You can go to the training for trainers, receive certificate, and go to your local community. It will be trainer for youth workers in your own local communities.
And this is where we see the sustainability and the passing on of information. And so if we look at the trainer as compared to the basic, how are you able to keep up with the numbers of people who've been trained by people who've gone through that course?
Yes, for example, last year we had 5 training sessions for trainers and 96 graduates, but now we have 46 trainers active work in this field, because not everyone who wants to be trainer for youth workers can be trainers for youth workers. Because if you have no experience working directly with young people, you can't teach youth workers how to do this work.
Right.
Yes, but many years we had a very strange approach when, for example, in university, it's my personal story when in university I'm teacher by education, and I have a lot of courses, and my professors who told me about approach, how to do youth project, how we have a lot of different approaches to working with teens, with young people. But when I asked, do you have experience working with young people, 90% had this experience, and maybe it's answer for the question why didn't this system work?
Because there's no, people can talk about processes, but they don't know what works, and the feedback from the youth. And what have you seen change? So at the time, as you said, this was a patronistic system where this is just telling the youth what they need to know, and no feedback, no interaction. So what are some of the programs that have changed since this has started?
For example, of course we have questionnaires before training, after trainings, but questionnaires, it's not complete information what's going on after our training session and what our graduates to do in their local community. And last year, together with me, with the ministry, we launched the contest of the best practice of youth work in Ukraine. It's a contest open for all, not only for our graduates, but we, of course, highlight our graduates from this, and we get 100 applications from all regions. And of course, most of them was graduates of our program. And they sent us their personal experience, what they did after our training session, what they did, what they do, what they will do. And we were really surprised level of this practice. And for example, our colleagues from Council of Europe is pioneer in the development different instrument for youth policy, and we actively use it and have we in process of consultative process with Council of Europe in our program. And they were really surprised how our youth workers with a little bit budget. For example, we have example when you center 2 students open youth center with budget 3,000 of hryvnia.
3,000 hryvnia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. What was the outcome of this center?
Yes, for example, it's a center in a university in Olesa Gonchara University in Dnipro, when students of historical faculty decided to find some space in university buildings where they came after lectures and spent free time to do home tasks together, to see TV, etc., etc. And they find not so big room, but it's a room called Leninskaya komnata, Lenin room, and every university in Ukraine had and sometimes had this closed room. It's from Soviet period. They cleared a little bit. They asked local community and their friends to bring chairs, to bring caps, to bring, for example, old table, and to do very nice use space. And now it's very popular place for young people, not only students from this university, for all young people in Dnipro, because it's like underground creative use space, free. Wow. And for example, very famous writers present their new books in Dnipro. Yes, it's really, but started from the budget of 3,000 hryvnia.
Wow.
It was not something, and it's not mayor come to these young people and give them money. Not
this grassroots.
Yes,
they
not
decided.
a professor, not Ministry of Youth and Sport. It's just two young people decided that they want to open use space for their friends, want it and open it.
And did it. Wow.
Yes, it's and it's real work, and I can talking about this till the morning, because we have a lot of, for example, when one young librarians from rural area to brought Wi-Fi router to the library. And from this, it was the first step to the open youth center in this community, because young people came to this library to chat and to sit in Wi-Fi. And then after 1 month, she started to offer some activities for them, something interesting, and they stay here, like active participation of this youth space, now this youth center in the rural area.
Wow.
Before it was old library, not so popular among the community, and it should be noted that sometimes old library, it's one public space in the rural area in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. But we can use it in different ways. And
to make it more active and to make it modernized. Wow, this is really amazing examples. And so how far has this program gone? What are you seeing now? You've got these 100 applications, so where you have these 100 stories, that means there are thousands more. What are you seeing now for maybe the future? Or what do you see developing more from this?
We have ambition plans that in a few years youth worker became an official professional in Ukraine.
So at this moment, being a youth worker, people just have their librarian or their this, but there's no profession as a youth worker per se. No universities that offer some type of courses or things like this.
Yes, very important that we have no official and legal definition youth work, youth centers, and youth worker in Ukraine now. It's not bad and it's not good for now, because it's in process of change. And if we now say that youth worker is and point, maybe it will be not so flexible to the reform and to the changes. But for example, we started process of consultation with Ministry of Social Policy, Minister of Economy, that put this professional to the classificator of professional in Ukraine. Youth worker can be recognized by policy, because now near the 50% people who identify them as youth workers work in voluntary based. It's also very important, and it's their own choice, because, for example, doctor who have time after work to do something training or flash mob for young people in community, is youth worker, but officially he is doctor, but after official work he is youth worker, and it's okay.
Well, being able to have that designation, I mean, you can be a doctor and have that youth worker, which can very much help for someone to be able to apply for grants or different funds, or to be able to have more standing for that, and to be able to broaden what they do. And also to be able to attend conferences or different things abroad by having that designation.
Yeah, at the same time we have youth workers who works in youth centers, for example, full-time, and now officially names specialist working with young people. And it's okay. It's not a problem with the definition. It's when we will have clear understanding where our youth worker will be worked. From this moment, we will launch official academic course for youth worker high level in the university. It's also now in process, but we don't want to do it very quickly, because we should to recognize what happened with youth sphere now in process of decentralization, amalgamated community, and very important that youth issues and youth policy issues is not put to the agenda in the decentralization documents official. And all issues related to the youth policy stay in the local level. And head and unit administration of amalgamated community should to decide what they want to do in their local community. Not ministry, not someone else, not head of the regional administration, just this amalgamated community should to understand what they want to their young people.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It's good and bad at the same time.
But it's great that you're developing this and not rushing ahead. Thank you so much for being with us today, Anna.
Thank you for invitation.
Thank you. And that was Anna Ostrikova, coordinator of the Youth Worker Program here in Ukraine. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned with UATV for more great programming.